When we were crafting the language for Casey's Law, the two things that I definitely wanted in the law was that it would be regardless of age and without any criminal charges. Our biggest obstacle with Casey was that he was beyond the age of 18. There's really no age limit on Casey's Law. There's nothing in the law that says any specific age. So it really doesn't matter how old that person is. If the petitioner can prove and have convincing evidence for the judge that this person needs and could benefit from treatment, and if they are a danger to themselves or to others because of their substance use disorder, then it really doesn't matter how old they are. The other piece of that, not having any criminal charges, we know that someone, especially a person who is arrested for heroin, that comes with a felony charge. And what a felony charge means is that even after you have been in a recovery program and you're trying to live a life in recovery, that felony charge sets up tremendous barriers for that person. They can't get a job or the job that they would like to have. Housing may be an issue. There are other things that keep them from living a full and complete life. And so that in turn can maybe be the reason why someone may relapse back into their disease because of the stress of not being able to get a job, of not being able to get housing, of hitting a brick wall everywhere they turn. So we don't want to create more barriers. It's hard enough to live in recovery. That's some of the hardest work that people will ever do, is to maintain their sobriety and live a life in recovery every day, because it is a journey. So if we can eliminate those kinds of barriers, it just makes it better for that person to be able to sustain their recovery. One of the first things that a person needs to know is that, again, that with these even though it's a court order, it is without those criminal charges, so they don't have to worry about something being on their loved one's record. And I know that's a fear that so many people have. Even though I tell them there's no criminal charges, still it involves the court system, and that's a scary situation for a lot of families. So the first step in filing Casey's Law is with a petition that comes from a family member, a relative, parents, relatives, and or friends can fill out that petition if they feel like someone they love is in danger of losing their life because of their addiction. And I always tell parents or family members to make sure that in that petition there's convincing evidence that they need help and can benefit from help, and that they are in danger, a danger to themselves and to others possibly. Because we know now we're hearing more about drug driving as much as we're hearing about drunk driving. And we also know that with every time a person uses, they're at risk of dying. So they're definitely a danger to themselves. And certainly if they're driving under the influence of drugs, they're a danger to others. And that's just a couple of ways that they are a danger to themselves and others. I would always tell the families too to make sure that even before they file the petition, that they're thinking about who their evaluators are going to be, because there have to be two evaluators under Casey's Law. One has to be a doctor, and the other one a qualified health professional, a counselor, a therapist, a certified alcohol and drug counselor, so that these evaluations are gotten to the court in a timely manner, 24 hours prior to the hearing date. And so I tell families to go ahead and get those evaluation appointments made so that they know they're going to be done and into the court prior to that court date. Because upon filing that petition, several things will happen. The circuit clerk will take that petition, find a judge to sign off on the petition if he or she thinks that there is just cause to have this person evaluated. And that's really what they're making a decision about at that point in time, whether or not this person really needs to be evaluated. And when they sign that petition, they're saying, yes, these evaluations are ordered by the court to be done to assess whether or not this person really needs treatment. And so also at that same time, they will be asked to sign a guarantee of payment. And that has often been such a scary part for families. As much as being involved in the court, now they have to sign that they're going to pay for the evaluations and they're going to pay for treatment. And for many families, they've exhausted all of their resources trying to help in ways that haven't helped. And now that they have something that maybe could really make a difference without any criminal charges, they are without funds. And so in Kentucky, we have a much better opportunity of helping families because there are facilities that are at low cost or no cost to the family. So the good part about Casey's Law is while they have the responsibility of payment, they also have the right to choose who the evaluators are going to be and what facility their loved one will be going to after that court date. And so that is the good news. It is not going to be up to the court to decide who the evaluators will be, or what the facility will be. They're not going to make that decision. So a family doesn't have to fear that the judge is going to say, well, I'm going to send your loved one to this facility and it's going to cost you $30,000, because that's not how it happens. It's the family that makes the decision about where that person will be going for their treatment. After the court date is set, and that again happens when the petition is filed, then the person who is petitioning, the petitioner, needs to really work hard on finding that facility where that person is going to be going. Because now they have a court date and they can say to the facility, I have just filed a Casey's Law petition. My loved one is going to need to be detoxed, and following that detox period, they're going to need a bed. So I would like to request that you help me secure a bed for whatever that court date is, so that the family can take that person directly from court to the detox unit, if that is necessary, and if they have been using within the last 5 or 6 days, it will be necessary, because the facility will not want to take in a person unless they have been detoxed for about 5 or 6 days. So that then can give that facility time to make arrangements possibly for a bed for that person, because the detox period will last from anywhere from 7 to 10 days before they would need a treatment bed. If the person fails, let's say the person fails to go for the evaluations, that it doesn't even, the family can't get them to an evaluation. And a lot of parents, family members will say that to me, well, they'll never go for the evaluations. How am I going to get them there? There is recourse in Casey's Law that if the person fails to comply with that part of the court order to go for evaluations, they can report that to the court and the court can enforce that. They can force the person to go for the evaluations. What I have found in talking to families for the last 10 years almost is that for a lot of people, they are so relieved when their family intervenes on them, because they realize they can't do it by themselves. They want to, they think they can, they try to convince themselves and others that they can do it, but we know that this is a brain disease and it has affected their ability to make those kinds of choices for themselves. And so while they may be angry at first, there comes a period of time very shortly after that they are thanking their families for doing this intervention. And that's what Casey's Law is. It is an intervention. It's not a cure. It's not a guarantee that that person will never use again. but it is an intervention and it is a break from using drugs so that that person's brain has a chance to heal and begin to function normally again. And so then, after the evaluations are done, they go to court, and the judge hopefully orders the treatment for that individual. Then at that point in time, when the judge orders the treatment, if that person leaves treatment, including if they leave the detox unit, even before they get to their treatment bed, if they fail to comply with that court order, then the family notifies the court, and that person can be found in contempt of court, which again is without any criminal charges, but the court can pick them up, have them picked up, and spend some time in jail. Now, you heard me say, I know that addiction is a disease, it's not a crime. However, at this point in time, we need a place where that person can go where they will be safe until they can get back into a treatment program. And we really can't expect families to watch their loved ones because that's beyond their ability to do. And so using the court system, since Casey's Law is a court order, the judge can order that person to be picked up in contempt of court and held in jail for a time to be determined by that judge. And using judicial discretion, they can decide whether or not that person spends a week in jail or 30 days in jail or a period of time in jail until they get into another treatment program. That's strictly up to the judge to make that decision. So I call that the hammer in Casey's Law, because if there weren't some consequence for leaving the treatment program, Casey's Law would merely be words on a piece of paper. So there has to be something there to cause a person to think twice before they walk out the door. I received some criticism for having that part in the law. I was told I was trying to criminalize addiction again. Never. That is the farthest thing from what I would want to happen. We have criminalized addiction far too long. We have tried to treat it in the criminal justice system, a system that was never designed to treat addiction. And so that was never my intention. My intention was merely to make sure that that person stayed in treatment long enough for treatment to work, because that's what we know. Treatment does work, but you have to stay in treatment for it to work. And while there may be some people that say, well, you know, if they don't want it, it's not going to work. Involuntary treatment doesn't work. Well, actually, we have seen involuntary treatment work a lot because we have drug court, and we have people who come in through the Department of Corrections. And we know that if that person stays in compliance with that court order, they are much more likely to recover because they have given their brain time to heal. As Dr. Kalfas will say, they need the tincture of time. And it does take time. It's not something that happens overnight. They didn't get addicted overnight. They're not going to get into recovery overnight. But what we do know is this, especially with heroin addiction. We know, as Dr. Kalfas again would say, that people who are addicted to heroin die before they ever get to the pre-contemplative state of just thinking about going into treatment. So there has to be some kind of intervention to get a person into treatment, to get them the help that they need when they need it. And sometimes that can be a very narrow window of opportunity. So Casey's Law is what it says it is. It's a hopeful option. It's an option that we didn't have for Casey, an option that I hope will be beneficial to other families so that they don't have to live the devastation that we live every day. This is something that can be used when a family realizes that there's something wrong. And I would say, trust yourself, trust your instincts. You know your children, you know your loved ones better than anyone else. If you think something's wrong, there probably is. And you need to act on it now. Don't wait. I felt like I had to have proof that Casey was using, but by the time I found the proof, he was already well on his way into his addiction. You know, denial means don't even notice I am lying. We were in denial long before Casey ever got there because we thought that it couldn't happen to us. It couldn't come to our family. Casey was too smart. He was too loved. He knew about the dangers of drugs. He went to church and Sunday school. For all those reasons, he came from a two-parent family. For all those reasons and more, we never thought it would touch Casey. But it did. Because it can happen in the best of families. Addiction is a disease that doesn't discriminate. It's an equal opportunity disease. And one of our biggest barriers to getting people into recovery is the fact that we allow the stigma and the shame and the discrimination to dictate our actions. And as long as we keep this a secret, people are going to continue to die. We have to talk about it. We all talk. We do that every day of our lives. We have to take every opportunity to talk about this disease and make those opportunities often because someone's life depends on it.